The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on.
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Day, folks, and welcome to the GreenValleyLake.com MX-5 World Tour. This is season 7 and we are at the penultimate race of the season, race number 14 out of 15. It is Brands Hatch, the Indy layout, and we are looking forward to one heck of an exciting race here. In the booth with me tonight, or today I should say, is my good friend Brian Corwin and league organizer Bill Zahn. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
I am doing great and glad to be back after the faux pas from last week. Bill, how are you?
Brian and Richard, I've got a ton of notes to talk about today. I got so much to talk about. This is going to be a great race.
Can't wait.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, well, let's get into it. We have got something like, 7 minutes before the start of the race. So, Brian, let's talk about this track. Absolutely one of my favorite tracks. You know that. I know you hate it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely, Richard. It's not one of my favorite tracks, but my opinion doesn't really matter in this instance because the drivers do look like they're having a lot of fun out there in warm-up. Today, the track is going to be located about 30 miles from London in the Old Dart. It's 1.198 miles or 1.928 kilometers. It's a very short track. We're going to be running sub 1 minute laps, so it's going to be very exciting, fast-paced, much like our earlier broadcast today. Today we're only doing 6 turns, and it's a 50-lap race, so with all the elevation changes and technicalities in the corner, we're looking at a physical, mentally draining racetrack.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the warm-up session here with the weather that they've got. They're doing 52 seconds around here, so very, very fast as well. But let me not talk too much about it. We have a lap guide that Giancarlo Lenzi, our director for today, will play for us right now. Giancarlo?
All right, Giancarlo Lenzi is behind the wheel of the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around the Indy layout of Brands Hatch. Turn 1 and immediately the track disappears out from under you. But just when you think the car will never grip, you get to the bottom of the hill and you've got grip galore. From there, Druids approaches fast, and if you're close, sometimes you can sneak a pass in. Square off this corner and set yourself up to plunge back down towards Graham Hill Bend. There's a lot of runoff here that's fair game, so you see guys using every inch of it to gain as much time as they can on this short lap. Then you've got to set up for the tricky turn 4 chicane. Here, instead of taking Surtees up to the left, we chop off the entire back section of the track and head straight for Clark. That little crest is even trickier with it being a 180-degree bend now. But setting yourself up for the exit is the important thing since the front stretch is now your longest acceleration zone. But after a mere 55 seconds and only one left-hander, that is a lap around Brands Hatch.
Okay, we're back. Let's go ahead and go through the season points right now, guys. So if we...
Okay.
Oh, there's Richard. He's back. Okay, go ahead, Rich.
Yep, and you hit the nail on the head there, guys. That was a pretty quick lap around here. You can see that it takes no time at all to get around this track. But Bill, as you were about to say, we want to talk about the championship. So it's pretty exciting as we get down to the wire.
Yes, let's go ahead and take a look at it. We have a big field here today. 16 out of the top 20 drivers are here, and there's 25 drivers in the field. Now, if you look at this, you'll see Jal Freitas our points leader, but with only a 25-point lead. Now, 3 or 4 races ago, that was a 90-point lead. Then it was a 60-point lead. Then it was a 30-point lead. Last week, 5 more points were cut off. It's down to a 25-point lead. What's really interesting is the Lisbon Piston, Yao Freitas, is not here today. So by series rules, he's going to get 90% of his average. That's going to be about 78 points. What I'm looking for is for Richard Eklund and Jan Koemans to make a big dent in that. I think Freitas is going to have the lead by the time we're all done from today. But going into the final race coming up at Sebring, the endurance race at night, I think these drivers are going to be within a handful of points together if all things goes according to plan. Jan Koemans, you can call him Butter because he's on a roll. He's won the last 2 races. Now, one driver to look out for is Juris Jelenko. He's going to be starting up in the outside of the top row due to the quick 6 inversion. He won here earlier this season on the full configuration. So I think he's going to be somebody to look at. And also we have Yuri Yanis, who's not in the top points. He's going to be starting on the pole today because he made the quick 6 too. Let's give it back to you, Richard, and then we'll do the keys to the race.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, I tell you what, I am very excited. This is going to be a heck of a race, as I said at the top of the show. But let's get the keys to the race from Brian, brought to you by Cozy Cabins, and then we'll get into the racing. Brian?
Well, you got to handle traffic here. It's a very short track, and because of the speed and the technicality of some of these corners, especially over by Druids and the Paddock Hill Bend, it's very difficult to pass. So maintaining and defending that inside line will be a big a factor in today's position battles. Also, there's some very big, huge elevation changes, so it's very easy to get your car's weight shifted too much to one side or the other, which is makes you very prone to spinning, and it reduces the effectiveness of your brakes, especially when you're drafting other drivers and in traffic. Also, you want to make good use of the grass verges. You can go a little wider here. You will get a 1X in the public servers, but since that's not really a factor today, they can use that to their advantage, with hopefully not go too far out into the grass where they'll get into trouble. And then finally, pit strategy. Going into the pit road entry is very difficult because you come in at such a high speed. It's kind of like almost a NASCAR oval feel where you're going full speed up the hill, and then you have a very short time to slow down. So if you're gonna have a good pit stop today, it's gonna start with hitting your marks and making sure you don't get a black flag for speeding. And as always, make sure you don't take too much fuel, and then you'll get a good run for a top 5 to top 3 finish. Richard?
Excellent run down there, Brian. Well, folks, couple of seconds left before they start taking the grid. It should be happening just about now. In fact, it is. So let us run through the grid for you before the start of the race really quickly because they're gridding up already. Brian?
Excuse me. Yurianis has the pole, followed by Juris Jelenko. Thomas Szabo is in 3rd. Amjad Yaman in 4th. Sergio Mora is in 5th. 6th place is Jan Koemans. He is their quick 6 finalist today. 7th, we have Simon Van Doon. 8th, we have Richard Eklund. 9th, we have Sam Mackler. And 10th, we have Arthur Chan. Richard?
Fantastic. 11th place, Trevor Mack. Tom Rathy in 12th. Jake Tucker in 13th. Dujon Boldrin in 14th. Marco Mogren in 15th. Stefan Overgaard in 16th. 17th place, Thomas Torp, Anthony Celentano, Ben Tucker, and in 20th, Benjamin Lanowet. Bill?
And wrapping up the is Benjamin Lanowet, Mihai Masison in 21st, Jody Fike in 22nd, Reno Tranny in 23rd, and we'll go back, Jonathan Kerr in 26th, and 27th, Brad Wooden. Back to you.
We have got the green, and they are led away by Gia Yanis. Followed on the outside, a big move there from Juris Jelenko. Amjad Yaman in there, Sergio Mura in there. Very exciting start, very clean at the moment. One guy going wide, I believe that's Jan Koemans. He has got a few places to make up. They come through the hairpin there. Sergio Mura makes a move on Koemans. Doesn't get it done. Koemans manages to hang on to the position. They now go into turn number 3, that wide grass section helping them. And now they take, for the very first time, they take on the very fast, as we see Eklund going around Mura there. Fantastic move there from Eklund as they go into the right-hander. Eklund gets past Koemans as well. Koemans way out on the outside, Brian. He is kind of stranded out there.
Yeah, unfortunately, he got freight trained and everyone went right around him. But how about that? A pass by Yurs Jelenko going on into Druid's Bend. He got just barely missed the back of Giannis, and he forced his way into the inside line. He took the lead, and now he has a very good run coming through Druids once again. He is going to maintain the lead. Followed close behind, we have Giannis and a train of just other cars. We see Amjad Yaman get forced outside by Richard Eklund, making a very aggressive move as they come down onto the Cooper Straight. We have some very intense, close racing here in the early stages of this race.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And our leader at the moment, Uros Jelenko, great move from him. He's being followed by Giannis. And then we have Tomas Zabo and Amjad Yaman. Richard Eklund had a really good first lap, forced his way in there. Amjad Yaman following him. Sergio Mura and Jan Koolmans, Bill, these are the guys that have lost out a little bit in the early stages here.
Well, I have an interesting story when we have more time to talk about Jan Koolmans. He wasn't supposed to be here today, but he took his laptop and his wheel. He got permission from his beautiful girlfriend Svetlana, and he's racing on vacation from his tropical islands right now. So he's not sure how well he's going to do. There was a little bumper banging going on in the back between Mihai Masison and Reno Tanny, but I think that all worked out okay. Let's go back to the front. Eklund's making a move, though. He's got to stay up close if he wants to close in and get those points on Freitas, who's not here today. Back to you, Rich.
Yep, as you said in the lead up to the race, Eklund and Jan Koolmans, second and third place in the championship, they have got to have good races here today to have any chance of winning this championship. It's going to be wide open going into the last race if they do. But right now we still have Uros Jelenko leading this race, Brian, followed by Giannis doing a great job early.
Yeah, very good job indeed. And how about Thomas Zabo right behind him? He kind of threw me off today with that Guitar Hero paint. I'm used to seeing the brown and blue car, so he tripped me up a little bit calling the early stages of the race, but nonetheless, he's having a great race. But right now under attack by Richard Eklund as we come down back onto the Cooper Straight. These guys have been putting down some really good rhythm, not letting Yurs Jelenko get too far ahead, and I am just very impressed with the driving early on. We have a long line of cars and no one's giving any space, but at the same time it's kind of like a nice ebb and flow as we just weave and wave through all of these corners.
And we just saw a move by Sergio Mura on Amjad Yaman. He got the job done. Amjad trying to come back at him as they go down the front straight once again. But he's got the job done. They're a little way off from Richard Eklund right at the minute. But a good move there by Sergio Mura. And he moves up into 5th place behind Richard Eklund and the top 3. So some excellent racing here at the moment. We haven't seen any accidents unless, Bill, you've seen something at the back there.
No, it's been pretty clean other than that little bump going on. GL, let's go back and take a look at the pink car here of Jake Tucker. He's in a battle for 11th place right now, and you guys interrupt me if anything happens up front. He's in a tight battle going on back here. You'll see behind him in the red, white, and blue car is Tom Rathy. Now, just ahead of Jake Tucker in that pink Pepto-Bismol car is Arthur Chan. He's running in 10th. Just ahead of them, you'll recognize Simon Big Mac there in the McDonald's car, Trevor Mack. Ahead of him in 8th place is Simon Van Doon. Just ahead of him is Amjad Yaman, who had a little problem in the early laps. And then what's surprising is Jan Koolmans is not faring well. Now, he qualified fast, but, racing on a laptop, he may not have the vision. Racing might be a little different than hot lapping, so we'll have to see how Koolmans does. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, Koolmans back at the moment in 6th place, but that I wouldn't count him out at all. He's behind Sergio Mura at the moment. I think he's just settling in. He's starting to get a little bit away from Amjad Yaman there. So that's a good sign as far as Jan Koolmans is concerned. But let's go and have a look right at the front where we have Uros Jelenko, Brian, just running the race of his life here today.
Yeah, Yurs Jelenko off to a great start, and after 6 laps, I'll tell you how close it is. They were at their last updated time, 5/10 behind the leader. We'll get a more accurate depiction of where we're at now, but nonetheless, Yurs Jelenko really impressive off to the start, having a clean race. He hasn't done too much as he took a little too much curve there and was a little offline as he got a little bit of dirt. Giannis was able to make up a little bit of time there, but not enough to be effective in Druid's Bend. But yeah, overall, these guys have just been really close, and it's been good racing.
Absolutely. And let's put the camera on Richard Eklund because he is only fractionally behind Tomas Szabo running in 4th place. So the racing is pretty close here today, and Richard Eklund is one of the contenders for the championship. So I'm very, very keen, Bill, to see how he's going to go today, as of course we are with Jan Koemans. But at the moment, Richard Eklund in the box seat in 4th place.
Yeah, if I can touch on a couple things. I think I mentioned earlier, Jelenko has one victory already this season, and it was at Brands Hatch, and it was the full configuration. But he ran away from that. He was dominant in that race, and it looks like, it's funny. You would think that tracks wouldn't play that big a deal, that talent would come through. But we've seen it before with Thomas Szabo at like Summit Point, where he is this dominant. Jelenko seems to just love this track, and he seems to be untouchable. Now, pit stops are not his forte, so we'll see how that goes. Another quick thing we'll talk about real quick for you guys, in 3rd place is Thomas Szabo. He's in that, what Brian called the guitar hero. I take a quicker look at it. It's an accordion hero paint scheme, and it's beautiful. It's kind of that orange and black car. So we'll keep a look at him. He had a great race. He's right ahead of Richard Eklund right now. Back to you, Rich.
Okay. Well, let me say that Richard Eklund that you just spoke about right there, he's starting to make a move on Szabo. He was looking on the inside right there, Brian. Didn't get the job done, but this is looking ominous. I suspect that he is going to try and take that position away from Tomas Szabo very soon. But just behind him, Sergio Moura as well. Jan Koemans starting to move up onto the back of this pack as well, Brian.
Yeah, Jan Koemans is unfortunately stuck in a little bit of traffic right now. I think he has the faster cars. He went way out into that grass versus so did Amjad Yaman, who's trailing just a little ways behind him. It's just been very interesting racing. Much like our earlier broadcast today at Mosport, there's not a lot of places you can pass here, and due to the elevation changes, it really unsettles the car if you try to go off the line and try something risky. So right now we're only about 1/5 of the way through the race. We just lost Brad Wooten, so he won't be a factor today, and we see our usual top runners just throwing down lots of fast laps, trying to find a way past one another. And also, I just got a word from our pit spotter that a couple drivers, including Arthur Chan and I believe one other driver, has taken heavy damage. It was Jeroen Ursum. He went off the road earlier in the race. They're doing some more investigations to see what caused it, but for now, a couple drivers already suffering from damage.
Yeah, and I think folks may remember that Brad Wooten led a large part of the race here at Brands Hatch when they were running the full course. So it's a little bit sad to see him way back in the pack there and now possibly out of the race. But we have fantastic racing happening right in the front here. Our leader still Uros Jelenko, who is really doing a fantastic job. Jer Yanis, the unfortunate Jer Yanis, Bill, who normally crashes out in a race, I'm sad to say, he's doing a great job today in 2nd place.
Yeah, it hasn't really been his season. His standings in the point don't really represent his talent. He's 15th in the points right now, and that's way farther back. If I can touch on one thing, Sam McAleer had to serve a stop-and-go penalty because for those drivers who remember a couple races ago, he actually punted our points leader, João Freitas, off the track, and he's had to serve a stop-and-go last week and one this week. So sure enough, what happens, he's trying to make his way back up through the field, and it looks to me like he just punted into the back of Jonathan Currigan. So, Sam, easy, buddy, easy. We want to see you racing, not serving stop-and-goes all the time. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, and Sam McAleer is showing as being back one lap now, so he's got a tough race ahead of him. But, Brian, the action is all up the front here without a shadow of doubt. Richard Eklund has not been able to make any impression on Tomas Szabo. He has threatened from time to time, looked on the inside, looked on the outside, but he can't get the job done. And meanwhile, Uros Jelenko is putting a little bit more space between him and the 2nd place guy.
At my last update, Richard, it looks like they're at about 6/10, but while they're battling that out, how about we drop back just a little bit to Simon Van Doon, Trevor Mack, and Jake Tucker. Now these guys, I wouldn't say they're slower by any means, but we typically see them running mid-pack, and these guys are right on top of each other running tandem form. This is very intense driving, and I've been watching them for a few laps. These guys are definitely showing a lot more pace than usual, and I think it's due to the traffic that they're back so far from all the battling. As we know in racing, when you battle with one another, you typically slow down to make it through the corners, and right now these guys have been putting up quite the interesting battle of just switching positions every so often. So good racing all over the track. As I see smoke, we have a car spinning off and potentially in the wall. That was Urianis. Urianis has done it again. He's spun off into the wall. We have a white car up ahead. I think that's Jan Koemans. He's also slow. Richard, I did not see what happened, but that would be a very devastating blow to Urianis as we get a replay.
Yeah, we're going to replay on what happened, and we've put the commentator's curse once again on Urianis. Just behind him there was Tomas Szabo. Did they touch? Urianis going around at the moment onto the front stretch. Tomas Szabo just behind him. Doesn't look like there's a touch at that point. So what on earth happened to Urianis? Side by side racing, they did touch, and Urianis, the big loser into turn one, they're going down the hill. So he's not going to be too happy about that coming together with Tomas Szabo there. But once again, Bill Urianis has shown that when push comes to shove, he will be the loser.
Yeah, there's not much to say about it. He's got a good starting position, and he's got the talent. He's got the speed. It's just let's just chalk it up to bad luck and wait till September for season 8 for Jerry. Brian?
Well, I didn't want to influence the IRT reviewers today in any means, but it looked like Tomas Szabo wasn't doing him any favors trying to run that mid line there, and it looked to me like that Urianis hit a little bit of curb, or maybe I got the two cars switched back. I'm not on the replay anymore, but one of the drivers got a little too much curb, and it looked like it unsettled the back of the car. And when that car whipped out, it was kind of like a hip check in hockey, just pushed Urianis out of the way. And once he hit that sand, he was out of control. There was nothing you do. Right now, that's going to put Jelenko way off in the lead. He's 2 seconds up. Richard Eklund and Sergio Mora both bump up one position. So we got Mora in second, Eklund in third, Koemans moves up to fourth, and Amjad Yaman moves up to fifth.
Yeah, and with Tomas Szabo, he's got a damaged car right now, both front and rear damage. And Simon Van Duyn has just taken away the position that Tomas Szabo did have. Simon Van Duyn running a great race here, looking now to challenge Amjad Yaman for the 5th position. So that's your 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place. Tomas now down in 7th place. So these guys have dropped off the front pack of Koemans, Eklund, Mura, and Jelenko. So we'll go back to the front and see how these front 4 are doing. But looks to me like Uros Jelenko still leading and leading handsomely, Brian.
Yeah, I think right now there's not a lot that can be done. Yours Jelenko has the lead by almost a second, it's 1.5 seconds. So he is quite the ways up. But Sergio Mora is running a little bit faster pace. I would not be surprised to see Mora make up that time very quickly. Richard Eklund now has a lot more room to run wide open. So we know how fast Richard Eklund is. He is also very capable of catching Uros. Not trying to downplay the lead that Uros Jelenko has. But now that these guys aren't battling with one another, it's definitely time to see those faster lads form. We got some nice warmed up, worn tires, so pretty soon we'll see the fast, intense racing we know and love so much in this series.
Absolutely, and yes, you called it right. Sergio Mora now has a good track position in 2nd place. Plus, he has nothing in front of him really except Uros Jelenko. And at this point in time, Richard Eklund, who by the way, he does have a little bit of damage on the front of his car. So these guys are settling in now, bearing in mind, of course, folks, that they do have to make a pit stop. As we look at Simon Van Duyn making some really good moves. He is challenging, looks like Amjad Yaman just in front of him, and Amjad struggling to keep him out there, Bill.
Yeah, what I want to point out to here with the leaders turning laps of 52 seconds, it's only going to be another lap before our leader is going to come up on the back of Jonathan Kerr. Now, the back markers, Jonathan Kerr, Reno Tanny, Sky Willis, are pretty well stretched out, so nobody's really battling. In fact, I'm watching right now. Here comes Jelenko right now. So Kerr has an injured, damaged car from the incident with McAleer. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly Jelenko can get through the traffic. Now, what usually happens is the leader maybe has a harder time getting through than the second or third place drivers. So look for Mora and Eklund to start, as Kerr gets out of the way for Jelenko. Look for Mora and Eklund to start gaining some ground as traffic becomes a factor.
Absolutely. The traffic will be constant from this point onwards, as we see Jonathan Keir, who's got some damage, keeping well out of the way of the front runners. Mura safely through, Eklund safely through there. Jan Koemans is next up, coming up to Jonathan Keir. I don't think he'll have any problem getting by Jonathan Keir as he goes to the outside. Jonathan Keir hangs around on the inside, giving him plenty of room. So now it's interesting to me. Koemans has to get up and start to mix it with these guys. I wonder, Bill, if we're going to see the customary early stop from Koemans as we are on lap 19. I would imagine the pit window should be opening soon if it's not already open.
Well, yeah, sorry to jump in. Arthur Chan's in the pits repairing damage, and Thomas Szabo is also in, so I think that was a good time to start talking about pit stops. I wonder if these are both damage related, though. We saw Thomas Szabo take quite a hit when he bounced off of Urianis, so I wonder if that's more the case here, regardless of their first two guys into the pits, and they are both there for a lengthy bit of time.
Yep, go ahead, Bill. You were going to say?
I think the pit window is open, and I really think what's going to happen is if you're looking ahead at a bunch of lapped cars you got to get around, that's probably the best time to go in. If you have clean track ahead of you, then I think you'll stay out. We're on lap 20, and the top four drivers are in there, are still on the track. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be the best at pitting. Juris Jelenko's really not used to running up front. Sergio Mora has had some trouble with pit stops in the past. Eklund's pretty darn good at it. Jan Koemans used to be good at it, but he's been complaining about it. And then in fifth place is Amjad, what we call the Dr. Yaman, who's noted as being maybe the best race strategist around. So we'll watch those five guys and see how they cycle through. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah. And while we talked about those guys, I see Amjad Yaman struggling a little bit. He's got some damage on the front of his car. That'll be hurting him as he comes up to Jonathan Keir now. But let's focus on the three guys behind Amjad Yaman, because these guys, make no mistake, these are fast guys. They just look a little bit, slower than the front runners. And that's because these front runners are superb drivers. But these three drivers, Jake Tucker, Trevor Mack, and Simon Van Duyn, these guys in their own right are pretty good drivers, and they are very fast. And yet they never get that much of a mention. So let us see. Trevor Mack, Simon Van Duyn at the moment battling as they're trying to pass Jonathan Keir at the same time. That is going to give Simon Van Duyn a little bit of an advantage. No, it doesn't. But here is a very, very good battle going on here for 7th, 8th, and 9th place. 6th, 7th, and 8th place, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it was Jonathan Keir. He looked like he was a dog stuck out in the rain there. He had nowhere to go, and you could tell he wanted to get out of the way and let these guys battle, but it was a weird part of the track. First he got stuck on the inside at Druids, giving Trevor Mack the long way around, and then he got trapped on the outside of the bottom of that hill, which is a very tricky corner to take that inside line on without getting the brakes too hard. So that kind of spread out the gap a little bit between, I believe, Jake Tucker and Trevor Mack. Right now, though, Simon Van Duyn's dropped back just a little ways, and they're going to try to catch back up to that freight train because that's where all the actions is. Right now, I must say I'm pretty impressed with Trevor Mack. Despite the fact that he's running in 7th place, he's a little ways back from everyone else. He is put down in a very good race. And despite all the bad luck he's had this season, he has made quite the improvement towards the last couple of races here, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. And just having a look at Trevor Mack on screen at the moment, he is most certainly doing a great job, but he's not doing as good a job as Jake Tucker just in front of him. Now, folks, you will remember that Jake Tucker, I think it was at Lime Rock Park, had a wonderful race there. So he's showing he's no slouch. Jake Tucker, as he comes up to the rear of Amjad Yaman, who's struggling to keep these guys out. But let's go back just a little way, Bill, and we'll put the cameras on Stefan Overgaard and Marco Mogren, two guys that I want to have a look at. Marco is just behind Simon Van Duyn there, who's behind Trevor Mack. So he is starting to get into the race. But further back from there is Stefan Overgaard. Stefan is a well-known driver, very fast. Hasn't showed much in this particular series, but certainly in other series he's shown that he is a lot better. Somehow he has not clicked in this series, Bill.
No, he hasn't really found his footing, or I guess for racing, I guess he hasn't really gotten much traction in this series. But it's really probably more of an indication of how top-heavy the talent level is at the top, as I'm watching right now as Koemans gets around Richard Eklund to move into third place. None of the top 4 drivers have pitted yet. You know, I misspoke when I mentioned that I got a message that Koeman's girlfriend is not named Svetlana, so I apologize to her, and I want to let her know she can rest assured that as far as I know, there is no other woman named Svetlana, and she is the only woman in Jan's life. Unless, of course, her name is Svetlana, and then there is no other woman not named Svetlana, and I think I better throw it away now before I ruin Koeman's vacation any further. Back to you, Rich.
Bill, you are known to have a few problems in this area, so yes, I would stop right there if I were you. Let's keep a watch on Jan Koemans at this point in time. Jan Koemans, I'm not sure, Bill, how did he get around Richard Eklund? Because he has passed Richard Eklund and is kind of leaving him in the dust right now.
Yeah, it was just a simple pass. I wanted to make sure Eklund didn't have a slowdown penalty, and that's not the case. Koemans is leaving Eklund behind, and he is gaining a little bit of ground on Jelenko and Mora. Now, I'm surprised these guys haven't pitted. We are now 25 laps in, so I give them another 15 laps at the most that they can go before we're going to see him start to go in.
Okay, so it looks to me like they've opted for a late pit stop instead of the early one. Very, very interesting as we are running still with Jan Koemans. Jan Koemans got some open track ahead of him now as he goes extremely wide there, Brian. But he's got some work to do to catch up to Sergio.
Yeah, he does have some very good work to do, but maybe those beaches are just relaxing him nice because he is putting down a good rhythm despite going wide just now. He's definitely been one of the fastest people out here today, and as always, Jan Koemans never fails to impress.
Exactly, and Richard Eklund now just falling back a bit. There's a bit of damage on the front there. I'm looking at the car, can't see any other damage, so maybe as the race works its way through on lap 26 we are now, we just passed the halfway mark. Richard Eklund just struggling a little bit, but having said that, he is in 4th place, which is nothing to sniff at in this sort of company. So, Bill, let's go and have a look towards the rear. What are you seeing?
Well, there's still that nice battle. Let's go back and look at Trevor Mack again in the Big Mac red, white, and yellow car there. He's in a nice battle with Julian Boldrin. Sorry, it's not Julian Boldrin, it's Simon Van Doon. I get those guys confused all the time. They're having a nice battle. Now, what's interesting with Simon Van Doon, he's doing very well running in 8th place. He hasn't been that present in the series so much, so he's not as high in the point standings as he'd like. But honestly, he broke into the top 10 this week. So, you know, that's kind of nice to see Simon in that blue and yellow car right behind Trevor Mack. Those guys are running very steadily. Let's drop a quick second back there and look at Stefan Overgaard that we talked about before. And then there's Julian Boldrin back there in 10th place running in that 880 car. Julian Boldrin is our only driver from South America. He's from Brazil, so it's nice to see him doing well. I'm surprised we don't have more drivers from that continent. Let's see, as Jelenko, we'll take a quick look and make sure our leaders have yet to pit. Jelenko is still out, Mora is still out, Koeman's still out, and Eklund is still running. So back to you, Richard. Things stay the same at the top.
We've got ourselves a great battle going on here in 13th and 14th place. Tom Rathy and Ben Tucker. These two guys are fighting very, very hard for that 13th place, and they were just side by side before we got them on camera. So this is a nice little battle here with Tom Rathy, of course, in the welcome in car. He is struggling to get back on the back of Ben Tucker there. He was right up with him and actually challenged him for a position. But a nice little battle going on here as we see them go now through the left, the right-hander once again. Sorry, that's the left-hander into turn 3. Quite close together, these two. Tom Rathy, Bill, didn't have a great season, but towards the back end of the season, at least, he's not crashing out every race.
No, he's making his sponsor much happy that he's actually putting in more than one lap. Those guys are very close to being lapped by Juris Jelenko. They're only about 3 or 4 seconds ahead of the leader. So they may want to probably, what I used to do as a back markers when I saw the leaders coming up to me, that's my indication that it's time to pit. So we'll see how that works for them.
Okay.
Oh, scary moment for
Brian, let's go back to
Jan
the front. Go
Koemans.
ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to report. I was on replay mode for a little while there, and I just saw something really crazy from Jan Koemans. He was coming very hot into turn 1, and Thomas Szabo kind of caught him out. It forced him wide out into the sand. He was able to catch it. Unfortunate for Jan Koemans, that did slow him down a little bit. He is currently somewhere like 4 seconds behind the leader. Sergio Mora, though, he's using that traffic to his advantage. He's closed the gap down to half a second or a couple tenths of a second. So very good race for him. And wow, what a change of events. I was surprised he made up that gap so quickly.
Absolutely. Jan Koemans, by the way, is the absolute master at keeping this car on track. The amount of times I've seen him sideways and out on the grass, out in the dirt, and still catch the car and keep it on the track has been many. He is absolutely amazing at being able to control this car. He's just passed Thomas Torp, so that just goes to show how fast these guys are. There are only 14 guys left on the lead lap out of 27 racing right here, so it just goes to show, Brian, how fast these front runners are.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in real quick. It looks like Richard Eklund and I believe Yaman and the Tucker boy decided that it's time to come in for some pits. So I wonder if they're trying to see if they can get some clear track in front of them. Right now, Juris Jelenkos and Sergio Mora have been battling pretty hard as they come up to, I believe that's Yanis, and they have yet to pit. So I'm thinking we will see them driving down pit road pretty soon. It looks like the subway car. Oh, Mora just jumped in right behind. So now we have another driver going down pit road. I think Mora is going to try and play the pit card. Unfortunately, it looked like he had to slam on the brakes pretty hard to not hit the other driver. So again, Juris Jelenko unchallenged right now. He's 5 seconds ahead of the next car. He has nothing but open space behind him, but unfortunately he has a bunch of guys in front of him, so if he doesn't pit soon, he might be looking at a little bit of a traffic jam, Richard.
Yep, and with the pit stops all cycling through, we see Simon Van Duyn coming in there. A whole bunch of them have just come in, so going to take a lap or two for everything to shake out. But at the moment, Juris Jelenko still showing as our leader. Was he one of the guys who made a pit stop there, Brian?
Yeah, excuse me, I'm going to interrupt. Eklund has come out just behind Mora. Mora comes out of the pits right now, and Eklund has the speed. He's going to pass as he goes to the inside of this right-hander. Yes, go ahead, Bri.
Sorry, I just want to jump in. Juris Jelenko is also in the pits, and he had a very good entry. He was full speed right up the marker, and he was managed to get that speed down. It looks like Jan Koemans is also behind him, so we need to find out where is the next guy in line for the lead.
Eklund and Mora are side by side. They're battling it out. In fact, Mora fought off Eklund now as they go through the little left-hand dog leg as they're coming around the right-hander. So they're going to be coming up to the main straight here pretty soon. How are the pitters doing?
Juris Jelenko's on his way out. He's coming down pit road right now. He's passing the white stripe, so he's heading off into turn 1. He has quite the gap between him and I believe the next set of drivers. Also coming down pit road, we saw that was Trevor Mack in the Big Mac car. So everyone, it looks like they're cycling through now. And Juris Jelenko, what a giant gap he has right now.
Yeah,
wow.
Koemans has gotten out in front of Mora and Jelenko. So it looks like Mora and Eklund. So when things settle down, it looks like it's going to be Jelenko, Koemans, Mora, and Eklund when things settle down. Our leader right now is Stefan Overgaard, but he is yet to pit. Back to you, Rich.
Yes, and excellent stuff from Jan Koemans. He's picked up a position in all of that. Now, currently, he will, as we cycle through, he will come out in second place, I believe. So we should just watch that. While everything's shaking out, let us know, Bill, when you're ready to do your back marker salute. But certainly, Brian, Juris Jelenko, just a huge gap right now.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with his run today. It looks like he's going to maintain that 5-second gap as right now until Dujan Boldrin goes into the pits. He will be running in second place, and he's about 4 seconds behind.
Hang on, Brian, we've got a battle here for the second place. We've got Koemans, Mora, and Eklund all virtually side by side. Action aplenty as Mora goes to the left. Eklund goes to the right. Coleman's, who was in a position behind these two, somehow has managed to come out in front of them. He slides his way into the turn. Mura comes back at him. Eklund on the outside. All the action right here, Brian.
Yeah, Koeman's got a little stuck outside, so we're going to see now as Richard try to, which one is he going to try and draft down that back straight? It looks like Koeman's going to get trapped on the outside by Sergio Mora, so Mora is going to try and take that inside line. Richard Eklund follows. Koeman's goes wide, but he has a huge run as he's going to try and go to Druids on the outside. He pulls in front of Mora, cuts off his nose, gives him nowhere to go. Richard Eklund's going to collect on that mistake, and it looks like Mora's going to drop back. Now Eklund moves up into third place. We got Jan Koemans, the doctor, just destroying everybody as he works his way through the traffic like a true spoken professional. And now what a display of driving from Jan Koemans. He cannot be intimidated by anybody, as now we got Richard Eklund peering down his throat.
Eklund is absolutely pushing Koemans to the limit, as is Mora. I think they touched their Eklunds and Koemans, but Koemans, unbelievable stuff from him, right on the outside, right on the dirt, still manages to get it into the hairpin ahead of the other two. Eklund just forcing situation after situation here, Brian. This is racing at its very, very best from three of the top guns in the series.
Yeah, usually when you think of Brands Hatch, you think of the old F1 stars, but I think of Jan Koemans because every time he comes here, especially in this series, he just looks out to destroy everybody in his path. And right now, even Richard Eklund doesn't seem to know how to get around him, as all three of them are showing pretty much identical pace. And what a battle it's become. Mora now back in the hunt as he catches on right behind Richard Eklund once again. If they can get a good exit out of the final corner here, they'll be drafting each other up the sides. So, Richard, wow, I don't even know what to say about this battle anymore. This has been so intense for the last 5 laps.
I'm going to butt in. What this is really doing is pretty much cinching the win for Jelenko, because there's no way these three guys are going to be able to catch up to Jelenko, who is now 9 seconds ahead. So once again, Jelenko has shown that he's the master at Brands Hatch. But what a battle going on from these three back here, guys.
Absolutely wonderful racing from these three. Koemans has it in second place at the moment. Richard Eklund has it in third place and Mura fourth. But I want to tell you folks, don't stop watching this battle because it could change at any moment. However, we do have to live up to some of our commitments. So let us know, Bill, when you are ready for the back marker salute. We are now on lap 37 already.
Let's do it right now, and you guys steal it away from me if there's some excitement. And I'm going to be surprised if I get through this back marker salute without Eklund's, Mora, or Koeman stealing the attention away. GL, let's go back and take a quick look at Jonathan Kerr. He's in the Roadster. He's running 22nd. He's 2 laps down. He's in that. He's not in the Roadster anymore. He's gone over to the Cup. I'm sorry, guys. We let him drive to the Cup. 1 spot ahead of him in 21st in the blue and black car is Reno Tanny. It's nice to see him. He's a veteran of the series. Doesn't race full-time, though, but he's had lots of races. In 20th position, there's a nice little battle going on here for 20th, 19th, and 18th between Mihai Masison in the Bit Defender car. When I first saw the car, I thought it was Bride Finder, and that would be a very different meaning from Bit Defender. Up ahead of him in 19th is Jordy Fike, and then ahead of him is, we're going to go well up into 18th position is Ben Tucker, and we haven't said much of Sky Willis. She's in that beautiful pink and blue and yellow car. Sky Willis having a great race, running 17th. She's having some internet problems, but it's nice to see her doing well. I'm going to go one more up here if I have time. We haven't much heard from Anthony Solano. He's a rookie in the series, but he's having a good race in that kind of half black, half white DB car there. Let's go, and then we did Thomas Zabo in 15th. Let's go back up to the, actually, let's not go to the front. Let's go back to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th to see how they're doing.
Right, well, it seems like Richard's having a little bit of problem with his mic, so let's go on board with Sergio Mora and see what this battle is all about. Right now, it's still going on. We're on lap 39, so we have about 10 laps to go before we can call this one an unofficial victory for Juris Jelenko at this point. They are 9 seconds back from the leader, but right now, what a battle this has become is Sergio Mora, you can see as we go through these dips and dives of Brands Hatch Indy car layout, and these guys are not giving up. They've been going all out for the last 10 laps. I gotta imagine, Bill, they're getting pretty frustrated and tired with one another.
Yeah, they have a back marker ahead of them. That blue car, it looks like, to me, that might be Reno Tanny. I'm not really sure who they're getting around there, but he's going to get out of the way. Let's talk big picture here for a minute. Without Freitas, our point leader, being here, you're looking at Koemans in third place, Eklund in second place, and Mora in fourth place in the points. So these guys, it's fun to battle, but they got to finish, Bri?
Right, Sergio Mora went just a little bit wide as we saw off to the right side of the road there. Richard, you got your microphone back?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Well, right now we see Richard Eklund as he tries to get around on the inside of Jan Koemans from the exit. He doesn't get enough momentum to pull through, so he's going to stay back in third place as we stand. Koemans, I am so impressed with this driver. He is not intimidated easily, and today, despite all the pressure he's getting from Mora and Eklund, has just continued to stay strong. Now we got Richard Eklund looking on the inside. Koemans is off in the dirt once again, holds on. He has plenty of momentum to make it up the hill in the Druids. Eklund looks on the inside, but Jan Koemans is going to shut the door on him. Now Mora all over the back of Richard Eklund. This thing is not going to stop. I think we're going to see it come down to the wire, Richard.
Absolutely, guys. And we see Eklund once again trying to get on the inside of Jan Koemans, but Jan Koemans just covers that beautifully. And we are looking from a chopper type view of these three cars. They are nose to tail. Sergio Mora back in fourth place, Richard Eklund in third place, the great Jan Koemans in second place. By the way, we should mention that the gate has shut. Uras Jelenko has checked out. He is some 9 seconds ahead of this group. He is actually leading, but this is where the action is. Second place. Go ahead. Who was that?
Oh, I think that was just the you might have heard some driver chat there. Hey, I want to mention 2 points here while we're watching that battle. Jelenko did the same thing at Brands Hatch last time. The poor guy has a dominating victory and he doesn't get much screen time, so we'll make sure to cover him when it gets to the end of the race. Jan Koemans is not adverse to the adult beverage. Now, I can picture him right now with what would they be drinking there? Maybe a Mai Tai in his sandals and sitting with his laptop and his girlfriend cheering him on. So he's very impressive what he's doing right here. And those three are still nose to tail. Richard, if you had to make a move here, where would you do it?
Well, the move is into the hairpin. So you go down, you've got to get a really great exit where they are right now. And you've got to line up the guy, get on his inside as Richard Eklund is trying to do, but he's not close enough. And see what Richard Eklund's doing. He's trying to get on the inside into the hairpin there and then take away the position. But that's about the best chance of passing there, Brian.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Koemans is off. He's amazing. I'm sorry, Brian.
Not a problem. And no, I totally agree with Richard Eklund, or not Richard Eklund, Richard Losper. The Paddock Hill bend's probably the best place. That's turn 1, coming down the hill. You want to get on the inside of Druids so you can force the other driver out wide. That would really screw him up trying to make it down the hill onto the Cooper Straight. Unfortunately for what Richard Eklund's trying to do, though, in theory it's going to work out great. He's going to do everything he can to force Koemans off his line, but if he tries too hard, he's going to bleed off a lot of speed, and Mora is going to capitalize on Richard Eklund's mistake. So it's kind of like, how much room do you want to be? How much more aggressive can you be without giving up the position to the guy behind you? And right now we saw Mora give Eklund a huge bump, and he just forces his way through. Unfortunately, he's going to be a little out of line. He might have enough momentum to hold on, though. Richard Eklund can't be happy about that, but that was some good old-fashioned touring car bump and run racing, Richard.
You know, Brian, I'm going to put it, that was set up exactly what you were talking about. The reason Eklund lost his position, Mora went defensive down the straightaway, and Eklund tried to go on the outside of turn 1 and lost all the momentum. That's where Mora got the spot. So that's for those viewers who aren't, familiar with auto racing, a 3-car battle is so much more exciting than a 2-car battle, because not only do you have to watch the driver in front of you, you got to watch the driver behind you. And right now, Koemans, I don't think he has the pace for these guys. He's driving defensively. I think these guys are running him down, but catching him and getting around him are two different things. Back to you, Richard Losper.
Yes, sir. And I tell you what, now, I think you're wrong there. I think that Koemans has got the pace. He has maintained that second position as they come up on a slower car. The real battle right now, Brian, is between Mora and Eklund, as we see the left car really go right off the track to try and get out of the way. There we see Mora attempting a little challenge on Koemans, so maybe maybe Koolmans is still not got that second place nailed down. Mura is showing a lot of pace here, Brian. He's forced his way past Richard Eklund, which great for Mura. Now he looks like he wants to challenge Koolmans. So Richard Eklund has just settled into the 4th place at this point in time, but look for him to come back. Now, folks, just bear in mind we are on lap number 46 out of 50, so there are not many laps left in this race. Brian, who do you think is going to come out on top of these three? I'm going to put my money on Koolmans. He is really good in the closing stages of a race.
Well, that's not going to be Mora because he just went way wide and had to concede the position to Richard Eklund. Unfortunately, that was a huge mistake that you could not be making at the end of this race. So it looks like this three-way little battle is going to be on hold for now. Koolmans has to now hold off Richard Eklund. Now, without Mora there to slow down Eklund and to get in his head, Eklund is now in a position where he could be a little more aggressive on trying to force Koolmans out of the way. So that is definitely going to be a game changer coming into the last couple of laps. Now, a couple of laps ago, we saw Anthony Celentano in the black and white car. He just completely stopped the car off the side of the road. He saw these three guys going and just said, you know what, I'm not getting into this. I want to be alive at the end of this race. So he got out of the way. But how about this, Richard? Urs Jelenko, because of this battle, is 10 seconds ahead of second place, which is Jan Koolmans. And then the next group of cars is 20 seconds off the lead car. So these three guys are kind of in the middle of no man's land in their own little world doing this little battle here.
Yes, indeed. And look, we are going to put the cameras now, Giancarlo, on Uros Jelenko just so that you can see what he looks like. He is he is winning this race and winning it easily. Uros Jelenko, a great race from him, stayed out of trouble virtually from lap 1, just cycled lap after lap. He is on lap 48 now. He unless there's some absolute disaster, is going to win this race as he goes around Jonathan Keir easily. So back to the battle, Brian. What is happening?
Well, it looked like Richard Eklund took the entry into turn 1 just a little bit wider than usual, trying to get a run and a different look down the inside of the turn, but unfortunately he took too much curb. Again, Mora going way out wide. I think he's out of tires. He just doesn't seem to have any grip. That or he's over driving it. Back to the battle. Richard Eklund tried to go up the inside of Jan Koolmans into Druids Bend and just couldn't get there because Jan Koolmans, again, taking that very defensive approach. I think Koolmans, if he is lucky enough to hold off Eklund's aggressive moves, might be coming home in second place today.
Well, we are on lap number 48. As they cross the line, they're going to go into lap 49, which is the second last lap. Koolmans really good into the entry of turn 1 there. He goes a bit wide. Now he's got to get right on the inside to block any attempt from Richard Eklund to take advantage during the hairpin, and he goes out really wide. So he's running a very defensive race at this point in time. Richard Eklund right behind him, looking for a way past Brian. They are coming up to some lap traffic, so this is going to be very interesting. Can they get through this lap traffic quickly? Only a couple of laps left, so almost just now over a minute of racing left in this race. We are going to bear in mind we want to see the winner cross the line, so we want to also stay with this battle. This is it, Brian.
Look at Koolmans go defensive there.
He's move right now. Hang on. Eklund on the outside. Brian, can he do it? No, he's being covered by by Koolmans. Fantastic racing, Brian.
Stay in the battle, guys. I'm going to go jump up on our leader here and figure out where he's at, as you guys can call the end of the final laps.
Okay, still Koolmans. Bill, I'll give you a shot right now. Koolmans still ahead. I think he's done it. There's only one last opportunity left. Go ahead there,
Richard,
Bill.
I need to jump in real quick as we have our race leader, Urs Jelenko, as he comes around the final bends. He is in no man's land. No one to even try to contest him over the line as he does his back and forth little spin. He's just going to come home with a huge win. Now let's go back to that battle, not to take away from Urs Jelenko's win, but what did happen?
Koolmans making a run at the line. At the line, he's going to get him. Eklund gets him. Eklund makes a run at the end. Sorry, Richard. And I don't know how he got an exit out of the final turn. Whoa.
Now, Bill,
Yes,
Bill, if you're
that
trying to
is
convince
correct.
me, if you're trying to convince me that Richard Eklund doesn't care about his career, you have me fooled because, man, what a finish to this race.
Well, I got to
Well,
go back on the. Go ahead. I got to go look at the replay. How he got to him by the start finish line after turn 6 was amazing. Go ahead, Rich.
Yes, I do think that Jan Koemans relaxed just a tiny bit, thinking that he had the second place tied up. But Richard Eklund never gave up, came at him on the line. We're going to watch a replay of that right now as we see that Eklund smashes the car into the fencing there. Now we're getting a better shot of the replay. We see Koemans in second place there, well ahead of Eklund. Everything looking good for Koemans. They go around to the turn number 3. Koemans still ahead. Eklund battling to get through as they come to the 180. Now they're on the final stretch going down. There's a ton of space between Koemans and Eklund. And Eklund now comes up and they go towards the line. And all of a sudden, Eklund just charges. And Koemans like slows down. Koemans thought he had it won and slowed up by the looks of things. And Eklund gave him the surprise of his life and took second position.
Richard.
Well, guys.
Before we go to break, I just want to say there's speculation from our pit spotter that he ran out of gas. Back to you, Richard.
Okay, well, that was an exciting finish, no doubt. We've got to take a break now and come back and give you the full standings. And I got to say, this race has lived up to every expectation that I had of it. So we will come back after these messages and we will give you some more information and do some driver interviews. What a race. Welcome back, folks, to the GreenValleyLake.com MX-5 World Tour, where we have just seen a magnificent race. There is no other description for it. Absolutely magnificent. Now, we are going to get into some interviews, but before we do that, we must give you the full standings. So, Bill, why don't you take us through the first 10 or so of the standings?
Okay, in a runaway victory, Juris Jelenko had a 11-second win. A great job from Jelenko. Second place, Richard Eklund. Koumans in third and Moore in fourth. We watched them battle out for most of the final laps there. A nice fifth place finish from Trevor Mack. Sixth place, Amjad Yaman had a little damage to his car, but brought it home in sixth. Simon Van Doon in seventh. Yuri Yana started on the front roll, brought it home in eighth place. Julian Boldrin, the Brazilian driver, in ninth, and rounding out the top 10, Stefan Overgaard. Brian, who do you see in 11th?
In 11th, we got Tom Rathy, followed by Jake Tucker. Thomas Torpson take 13th, followed by Thomas Zabo, who unfortunately had some drama earlier on. He came in 14th. Benjamin Lanowet comes in 15th, followed by 16th was Anthony Celentano. 17th was Mihai Masisen. In 18th, we had Ben Tucker. 19th, we had Sky Willis. And in 20th, we had Reno Tani.
And then, folks, we are down to the lap cars. Jonathan Keir came in 21st place. Jordi Fike, a new name for me, in 22nd. Arthur Chan, perennial back marker almost. He's a so much better driver than that, in 23rd place. Marco Mogren, another fast guy, in 24th place. Sam McAleer, a terrible race for him, in 25th place. Brad Wooten, even more terrible for him, in 26th place. And rounding out in the 27th place, we had Jeroen Ursem. That is the full standings. And now we get to the interesting part where we are going to talk to Jan Koumans, and Brian is going to interview him. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, yeah, Koumans, I know it's getting late out there where you're at, and you're probably wanting to go to bed soon, but we have to ask, how is your vacation going? And tell us a little bit about that backstory. Just summarize it really quickly.
Yeah, I do have to do it quickly because my girlfriend's asleep actually in the room. Well, it was pretty tough. I just packed everything into my suitcase because I figured it would be nice to have a computer, and I took my G27 steering wheel along. So that's pretty much the whole story.
Well, all right, we'll keep it short. We'll have one more question for you here. If you had to decide on one word for today's race, what would it be? It was crazy from start to finish. Your pace was awesome. Sergio Mora and Richard Eklund both gave you a very good fight, and then it seemed like you ran out of gas there at the end. So what's the feeling behind it?
Frustration actually. It was going really well, except that I had to avoid Amjad rear-ending somebody at the beginning of the race, and that put me way back. And after that, I just misread the laps and took one lap, not enough fuel, so I was saving from 20 laps before the end, which is really distracting. And yeah, I would have easily been second, but now it's third or fourth. So what can you do?
Well, not to downplay your final results. All right, we'll get you get some sleep, enjoy the rest of your vacation, and just overall great finish. Thanks for joining us, Jan.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Back to you, Richard.
Yeah, I think that Jan Koumans put his finger on it there. A little bit of frustration for him. He was looking like he had an easy second place. Well, not an easy second place, sorry. He had to fight every inch of the way for that second place. But he just lost out right at the end, right on the line, in fact. Now, we do have Richard Eklund with us. And Richard, I see you in the booth there. Good day to you, my friend. You don't fool me for 1 second, my friend. You've got your eyes on another championship, right?
I don't know where Joao was today. He decided not to show up, so I think the points are going to be super close now. So the last race will be interesting, I suppose. But going into the race, I was still saying that I don't care if I win, but now that I'm so close that I can feel it. It would be nice to have, but if I don't win, it's still not the end of the world.
Okay. You might actually end up in first place in the championship. But tell us about that last lap. I mean, Jan Koumans is in front of you. It looks like he's got the second place sewn up. and all of a sudden you see him slowing down. Tell us about that.
Well, I didn't see him, to be honest. I I tried to set up going into turn 2 or 3, whichever that tight right-hander is, to try and pass him, but he was too quick. I didn't get a good enough exit. Couldn't get that done. Then I had one more opportunity going into the last turn. If I had that right, I could have had him there, but I braked pretty deep. Almost hit him, but luckily I kept out of his tail. So I figured, alright, that's third place. But it's still better than fourth, because I was battling with Sergio too. But then I started to type on my keyboard before the race was over. I said, good race. And when I looked up, Jan was slow all of a sudden, so I swerved to avoid him. And I managed to beat him by, I think, 85 thousandths. So that was interesting. But yeah, I think it's like my second place this season, so I'll take it.
Yeah, well-deserved second place. Look, I'm going to ask you the same question that Brian asked of Jan Koemans, which is, if you had one word to describe this race, my word for it is awesome. What's your word?
I would have to say fun, to be honest. Going into the race and qualifying in practice, I thought this was the worst track I'd ever driven, and I wasn't looking forward to race it at all. I started 8th or something like that, but during the race, for some reason, I was able to drive it like I drive most tracks. I was quick enough, and it was actually really fun. I didn't make any mistakes. I actually got super lucky, too, would be another word for it. I had a slowdown penalty, avoiding a back marker, went into the grass, and the final turn got a slowdown. So I decided just to duck into the pits because I was in the pit window to see if I could remove that slowdown by going to the pits. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a stop and go or something, but I decided to risk it, and luckily it cleared before I entered the pits, so I got lucky with there too. So I guess lucky and fun, 2 words.
Excellent stuff. Well, Richard, thank you, and thanks to the other drivers as well. You guys put on such a wonderful show. Congratulations on your second place. You are right up there with good championship prospects at this point in time. So thank you once again. And now, guys, we have one more person we can talk to. Tom Rathy is out there. So, Bill, why don't you have a chat with Tom?
Tom, I'll be honest with you. The Eklund, Koemans, and Mora were putting on a show the final 10 laps, so we didn't get to see much for what's going on in the back. I did see you in a battle midway through the race. How did your race go?
Pretty well. But, I ended up where I think I should have ended up. Let's put it that way. You know how I feel, how competitive this league is. And, the couple bobbles I have maybe cost me one position. But there's other folks that legitimately I think could have finished ahead of me if they hadn't had bigger mistakes. So, I was pretty happy with the race. Really tough course.
We have, looking here at the chart, did you finish on the lead lap? You did. You almost went a lap down there. You were being chased by the leaders there for a while.
That's because I went in a little earlier than some, because I saw Marco Mogren was starting to catch up, and there was some, we were starting to hit lap traffic, and I just wanted to get out of the muck. So I went in a little bit earlier, and then I saw Euros back there. But then when they started pitting, that's when the gap started. So, probably about half a lap, 2/3 of a lap back at the end.
Yeah. How was, just in general, how was the racing on the track? It's a really tight track. It seemed really hard to pass here. Did you find that to be the case?
Absolutely. I saw Yari back there. I saw Yari spin, and when I got by him, he went off at 1. I don't know what happened. And when he was coming out of the pits, I had about a 6-second lead ahead on him. And then I got, slowed up by some slightly slower traffic by someone that hadn't pitted yet. And, I got to admit, I thought about using the mulligan.
That'll work.
But that doesn't look too good.
not if you're a steward. Hey, congratulations on your finish. It's 11th, just outside of the top 10. What's your schedule for next week? Are you good for next week at Sebring?
Yeah, I'll be there, and then so that's Saturday the 3rd, right?
Right.
And then the day after that, I pack up the car and the tires and go out to Watkins Glen to do some instructing on Monday and Tuesday.
Outstanding. Well, good luck with that. We'll see you next week, and thanks for racing, Tom.
Absolutely, Bill. Take care.
Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, Bill. And so we come to the end of another great race in the Green Valley Lake MX-5 World Tour. Folks, this is one of the best series that I have the privilege of commentating on. And as we close now, we would like to thank a number of people and organizations for bringing these races to you. Cozy Cabins, who is a sponsor and in fact shows up on the car of Tom Rathie. Sorry, not Cozy Cabins. He's in the Welcome In car.
Freitas, who wasn't here today.
Yao Freitas runs the Cozy Cabins car. We thank Cozy Cabins for their sponsorship. Eagle Nest Tavern, another of the great sponsors. We thank them. And the Welcome In Bed and Breakfast. We thank them as well for their sponsorships in the series. We do appreciate them greatly. For more information about Green Valley Lake in general, which is called the best kept secret in California's San Bernardino Mountains, please do visit www.green-valley-lake.com. Bill, we must thank you for putting on an absolutely great series. You're the organizer of this league. It is a wonderful league. It attracts the best MX-5 drivers in iRacing. And thank you once again. We also thank iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and Ava Media for providing the software and the hardware that we use for these broadcasts. Thanks also to the team today. Myself, Brian, great job, my friend. Bill, absolutely wonderful. And of course, our director, Giancarlo Lenzi. Without him, you would not see all the great action that you do. If you would like to find out more about GSRC, our website is www.globalsimracingchannel.com. There you will find our broadcast schedule along with the archived races and race highlights. We are also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/globalsimracing, as well as Twitter, where our handle is @GSRChannel. Very special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with some really great music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but also in TV commercials, in movie trailers, in iTunes, and even Spotify. If you do like the music, please tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Another musician who contributes to our various broadcasts is Casey Lalonde. You can find him at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Now, folks, I have not got the upcoming races for you tonight. We do have many races on tomorrow, at least a couple anyway. Please check our website at globalsimracingchannel.com, where you will find all of the races coming up. I can tell you that the next race in this series will be next week. It'll be the finale. It'll be the Sebring. It'll be at Sebring nighttime, and it's going to be a great race. We do have another upcoming race, the Gathering of Tweakers, which will be the Sebring 185. That'll be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. UTC. So there's also another race coming up tomorrow evening, which I don't have. Yes, I do. It is Watkins Glen. It is the Spec Racer Ford Big Grid Race Week 13. Fantastic racing that happens in that race as well. You've got some of the best spec racers ever around, best spec racer drivers ever around. That'll be at Watkins Glen, and that'll be immediately following the Gathering of Tweakers races. Some great racing coming up. We also have next Wednesday on April 30 at 6 p.m. Pacific time or 9 p.m. Eastern time. We have a new series that we are going to cover. It is the ASRS Pro Series. So plenty of racing coming your way from the Global Sim Racing channel. Right now, we thank you for watching. We say to you, race hard, race clean, and we will see you on track somewhere.